Hello, everyone. Let's just give about another minute or so to see if anyone else jumps on before we get started. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So Heather, our lab instructor, is going to go over the measurement system lab and kind of walk you through it so you are able to do it on your own. And then this will be recorded, so I'll do a copy of it in the course so you can watch it at your convenience. And we will take questions at the end. So if you have a question, just remember to ask us at the end. All right, so at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Heather, our lab instructor, to take over.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, so before I get into like the lab and everything, I want to show you something that will be handy for you guys to have when you go in to do a portion of your lab. When you go into your 404 class in week 1, you will have this. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll have this cheat sheet of common pharmacy conversions. This is going to be handy when you get to the unit conversion table for your guys' lab. All right, so I'm going to change my screen. Okay, so this is the lab. Again, it starts off with the exploration overview, and for this one, you have 2 test your knowledge. For the first one, it is you're categorizing each unit of measurement based on the measurement system in which it like comes from, which there's 3 different ones, and like a lot of the other labs, it's just a drop-down menu, and you'll pick which one you think that they go with. And once you complete that, you can go to the next one. And this again is another drop-down menu. It looks kind of confusing, but the coordinating boxes, it would be for all of the corner pieces and then the center. So you would just click on it and then pick which one. For your next page, it goes over basic information for the metric system and which units they use. It tells you about the prefixes and gives you just like more insight about everything. This one only has 1 question at the bottom. This one talks about the apothecary system, and it goes over what kind of like units they would use, and it gives you a little like background about the symbols and just other tidbits for it as well, like your household system measurements. And this one also has just 1 question at the bottom. And finally, unit conversion, you will just read over the paragraph. It gives you a video to watch and 1 question. Dilutions. So this is what you're going to be doing for part of your experimentation. It tells you about like what a dilution is and typically what we use them for. And it gives you just an example scenario of what you would see in a pharmacy. Normally, more compounding pharmacies deal with this kind of stuff compared to like retail, and hospitals also would probably use this as well. But from the retail portion, you don't see it as much, but you definitely do come across it. So this page is going to be really important for your experimentation. This is the allegation method. You're going to use it for the allegation part of the experiment. You're going to read over the couple paragraphs, and this is the like tic-tac-toe setup that you're going to use. I'm going to like go over an example for you guys, but this is the basic setup and information that you will use for those. And again, there's another question at the bottom. So this is a example that they provide for you. It is interactive on how we will be using the allegation tic-tac-toe board method. And you're just able to click on it. So in this scenario, let's see, you're requested 1 pint of potassium chloride solution at 20% strength. Unfortunately, the only solution available that you have at your pharmacy is a 4-gallon container of 35% and a 1-gallon container of 10%. So we're going to determine how much of each one we'll use to combine to get this 20%. So when you set up your tic-tac-toe board, you use the final percent strength for the centerpiece. So what we want is the 20. Oh, I hit the wrong button. I just have to click through this. Okay, wrong next button. Okay, so you'll put the 20% in the center, and then you will write your next percent that you have. So the higher percent, 35, will go in the upper left corner, and the lower percent will go in the bottom. Next, you will subtract your numbers. There we go. And this one works out good because it's not weird. You don't get the negative number. But whenever you are subtracting the numbers, if you get a negative number, you can't use a negative number. So you have to use the absolute value of the negative number, which would just be the positive number of it. So the 10 minus 20 would equal the negative 10, but you take the absolute value of it, which would just equal the 10. Next, we would take these numbers and we'd create 2 fractions. So the first fraction we're going to do is we're going to use the 10. So the 10 would go on top, and then you'd put 15 plus 10 on the bottom. And then for the other fraction, you would take the 15 and put it on top, and the bottom numbers would be the 15 plus 10. So they're both going to have the same denominator. So once you write it out, it'd be the 10 over 25, and you reduce it to as low as you can get, which would be 2 over 5, and that's for the 35% solution. And for the next one, it would be 15 over 25, and when you reduce that, it would be 3/5 of the 10% solution. And then finally, after you figure out your two simplified fractions, we would then figure out how much we would need. So in the original problem, it said that we would be needing 1 pint of the original percent. So since it didn't give us what mLs that is, we had to figure that out. So when we set that up, it's going to be the 2/5, and it's going to be 1 pint over 1, because you have to keep everything as a fraction. And then you would multiply it by 480 over 1 pint. And we get the 480 from that sheet, that little cheat sheet I told you to go to. It will have this information on it. And once you have your number set up, you would just be multiplying across. So it would be 2 times the 1 times 480, and then be 5 times 1 times 1, which would be 5. And then you just simplify this, which gives you the 192 mLs. And then for the 3/5, again, we have the 1 pint, and we want to figure out how many mLs that we need. So it's the same thing, you're just switching the fraction. So you'd be multiplying 3 times 1 times the 480, and then the 5 times 1 times 1, which gives you this. And then when you reduce it, you'd get 288 mLs. And okay, so that was all of that. And one thing to keep in mind when you're doing the alligation method and figuring out the different strengths and amounts that you need, whatever is the highest percent strength, the amount of mLs, you'd always be using the lower quantity. So in this case, it was, let me go back here and show you what I'm talking about. So for the 35%, it will be, you can't just click through here. Okay, so the 35%, because it doesn't really clarify which one is which. So you have the 192 mLs and the 288 mLs. The 35% would go with the 192, and then the 10% would go with the 288 mLs. And another way to see if you got the right numbers is when you add them up, it will equal the amount that you would be needing. So it would be the 192 plus 288 would equal the 480 mLs, which would be the 1 pint. So we know that we did the math right. Okay, so I know it's all kind of confusing with the math stuff, but when we move on to the experimentation, we are using stuff out of our lab kit. And let me reshare my screen. Okay, so the supplies that we're going to be using for this one is, of course, your goggles and your gloves. You're going to be using the 100 ml beaker. We're going to be using the 100 ml graduated cylinder, which when you look at it, you'll see all the numbers goes up by 10, and it will, at the top it'll have 100, and you'll also be using the 10 ml graduated cylinder, so it's going to be the smaller one. And when you are to the part where you have to make your labels after you do your math and do the mixing, this is what they're going to look like. If you don't have these, you can just write it on a piece of paper. That's also fine. And you're going to need cherry syrup and your 4-ounce container, and that's gonna have, like, it's in Roman numerals, so it's gonna have IV on it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the lab. And then the list from the supplied materials that you will provide is calculator, your phone, some dish soap, hand soap, juice. It doesn't matter what kind of juice, as long as it has like a tint color to it. And then just pen, paper, water, paper towels for like cleanup and stuff. So the first portion is going to be the unit conversion. They have a video that you can watch, and they provide you with a table, a couple tables for the data table that you're going to have to fill out down here. And when you look at the first one, it's going to be 3.4 teaspoons, and it's asking you to convert it to milliliters. Some of them are going to be really easy. You just have to make sure you know which table to use the information out of. So for that one, it's a one-step process. So you'd use teaspoon conversion factor for milliliters. So it's saying for 1 teaspoon, you have 4.93 milliliters. So you would just multiply the 3.4 teaspoons by the milliliters. So I do want to give you an example of a 2-step process as an example, because I know a lot of students struggle with that as well. Let's see. Okay, so for the 2-step unit conversions, I made an example of 30 DR, and we're want to figure out how many milligrams. So from the table, it gives us the information that 1 would equal 1.772 grams. And what we would do is we would just multiply that, and it would give us how many grams that would equal. But we have to keep in mind, it's not asking us for grams, it's asking us for milligrams. So when we reference the other table, we would know that there is 1 gram is 1,000 milligrams. So again, you would take the amount that you know that you have, and you'd multiply it by 1,000. So this would be how many milligrams that you would have, and that would be your final answer for the 30 DR would equal in milligrams. So when you're doing the math, you just have to pay attention to what you're converting it to, just to make sure you don't have to do a 2-step process like this one. Okay, so that's what you're gonna do for these ones. I'm pretty sure most of them are all just 1-step ones, but there will be a couple ones that are 2-step. And you have to make sure that you upload your picture for the math for all your conversions for this table. And then you have a couple exercise questions that you're gonna have to answer as well. And the second part to your experimentation is there's gonna be 3 separate prescriptions that we're gonna be figuring out the how much you're gonna need out of the 2 strengths to equal the one that you're asking that you need to get. So this is gonna be the alligation method. This is where you use that tic-tac-toe portion from, then you can just go over here and click it and it'll go right to it. And you can reference it. So you can set up your math for them. And it gives you all of the information that be 80 mLs of a 60% solution. And then it gives you the two others that you have. They give you a video. You have to read from the meniscus when you're measuring out your liquids. And let's see, once you figure out the math, you can scroll down. There'll be a table. So you can either do all the math for them first and fill out your table, or you can just work on it one prescription at a time. And it also gives you a link that you can click, which also brings up the tic-tac-toe information that you can use. You'd use that to figure out your math, and you record it in the data table. Each of these for your labels will be a little different. It does specify what to write on them. Like for this one, for instance, it's write your name and today's date for your scratch paper, and then you take a picture of it. You'd be washing your hands, putting on your gloves and goggles. You use the appropriate size graduated cylinder to measure out the volumes that you figured out with your math. And the juice that you have, you'd be pouring it into the 100 ml beaker, wash the graduated cylinder. Use the appropriate size graduated cylinder to measure out the correct volume of syrup, which would be the cherry syrup. Pour the syrup into the 100 ml beaker with the juice, and you'd swirl it around a little bit, and you'd pour the solution into the little amber 4-ounce bottle that I showed you earlier. Be sure to include their percent strength on the prescription name. So the percent strength would be the 60%. And again, after you fill out the required field for the label and you attach it to the bottle, you take a picture of it and you would upload them. There's a spot, and they all are labeled after the data table. For the first prescription, you have the math and then the labeled bottle, and then again for the prescription 2 and 3. So you want to make sure that you're getting all of your pictures in, because I know it's hard to keep track. There's so many pictures for this one. And for the second prescription, it's the same process. You'd set it up and figure out your mLs that you'd be using of each percent of the solutions. But this one, it gives you different information that you're going to be putting on your label. So you want to make sure that you're putting all of like the appropriate information on there. And again, you'd be taking a picture of it after you label the bottle and after you mix everything. And then this one, let's see. This one is the same as the first prescription. You're just putting the percent strength in it, in the name. So the one that has the most detailed information for the label will be the second prescription. And before you move on, I would make sure that you completed the data table and have all your pictures. And at the bottom, you have a couple exercise questions that you have to type in as well. And I would always save before I'd submit it, just to as a safety net, to save everything before you submit it. And once again, when you submit it, it will just cancel out. That's how you know that it actually went through. And let me go back. Okay, and then after you do the lab, you have the evaluation. Okay, so for this one, there is 9 questions. Just make sure you go through all of them and answer all of them. And then you would just submit and then save and quit. This one you actually have to quit out of. It doesn't back out automatically. Well, that was a lot of information. Does anybody have any specific questions they have for the lab? I know it's a lot of information. Yes, Stephanie.
So I had a question. Are you gonna be playing this video? Like, are you gonna upload it for us to watch, like, in case we get lost on the?
Yes, yes, we will.
So will it be in our email or where?
I believe it will be in. I'm not sure. Will it be in the lab course, or would it be in there?
It'll be in your regular course, like 404, and I'll put it in an announcement.
Okay, that's all I had a question on. Thank you.
No problem.
I should give that to you guys tomorrow once all this is done.
Yes, Brittany.
If we're having trouble on the math, do we just contact one of the tutors for the hotline or one of the lab techs?
You can either go to one of the tutors, or we can set up like a one-on-one session with you as well, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, the math is a little it's a little complicated for me a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I just email you to do a session?
Yes.
A private session probably. I'm not sure how late you are up late, so whichever time works for you. If you want, you can just email me too.
I'm going to copy and paste our email into the chat. Okay. You can email that email address that I just shared.
Okay.
And we could get in contact with you to set something up so we can meet.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Trishira, sorry if I'm butchering your name, asked if you can go over one of the 2 unit conversions again.
Yes. I just gotta pull it up really quick. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so with these, we will use the tables that you'll reference the tables that are provided. From the lab, it has like it'll have a similar one to this. I just changed the number by like 5. So I know the table in the lab, it will give you the information and it wants you to figure out how many milligrams, but it only gives you the information for how many grams that one would be. So we would treat this as a multiplication. So we know that we have 30 of these. So we would multiply 30 times the 1.722. And that gives us how many grams? But we have to remember they're not asking for grams, they're asking for milligrams. And again, we'll use the data table, and we know for 1 gram, there's 1,000 milligrams. So since we know we have 53.16 grams, how many milligrams is that? We would just treat this one again as a multiplication. So it would be the 53.15, and we'd multiply it by 1,000. So your final answer for milligrams would be 53,160 milligrams. Okay, let's see, Toya?
Hello,
Hi.
how you do?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. So I'm probably just gonna end up doing the same thing the previous young lady did and just ask for a one-on-one because I'm lost completely.
Yeah,
I did like the unit conversions in the tables for like the original numbers, but I'm gonna be honest,
yeah,
me no did this. I didn't do the this allegation alternate.
yeah,
I didn't do that. I did regular math. I still got the right answers because I did it where you take the number, you multiply it by what you need and what you know, and
yeah,
divide it. That's pretty much what I did.
yeah,
So I'm looking at it and seeing that there were more pages to being able to find things. I didn't do it correctly. I still got the answer because I just did
yeah,
it.
because there's
I did
definitely different ways that you can go about it. They just specifically want the allegation method with like
right,
the
and I know
tic-tac-toe
that
and
this is
everything.
something
So
that
we
we
can
need.
definitely set something up to where we can go over it. I know there's a lot of like information that they present you with and it's really confusing. So we can definitely set something up with you.
So also, if I wanted to go like back to get a better understanding of when we were on the dimensional analysis, I don't know if it's gonna come up again. But if we wanted to get further lessons on that, is that something we have to go to the tutors for, or can we ask you guys too? Because that's technically in our labs as we from the past.
So you're talking about like previous lab stuff?
Yeah, like when we were learning upon the dimensional analysis math breakdown
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can go over stuff like that too.
Okay. I'm not gonna lie, cause I was so lost. I was outsourcing on Fiverr. Like, can I get a tutor? Let me see who I can pay for
Yeah.
some lessons or something. Cause I'm really I didn't think I was gonna be this lost. I have basic math knowledge, but I'm really lost.
Right.
Do we get an
Yeah.
extension on this? Since it seems like I'm so glad that this is probably bad, but I'm really glad that I'm clearly not the only one I was struggling with this. Can we get an extension towards this? Because it's due tonight.
Um, we don't have if you turn a lab in late, we don't give late penalties.
Okay.
So you won't have to worry about it. You won't get any points taken against you for
Oh,
that.
I was only worried because of what they did to me in the other labs. That was a big
Yeah.
chunk missing. I ain't like the way my grade went plummet.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's all my questions. Thank you so much. And what is you said go back to the email I was doing with the PhD labs, or is there a
Yeah, yeah.
specifically different one? Okay.
You can use that one.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Does anybody else have any questions about the lab or the math portion? Yes, I can go over how to upload the pictures. Just have to go back into the lab really quick and I can show you. Okay, so when you go to a section that needs a picture, you have to make sure it's one of these type of files. And when you click choose file and it pops up with the window to pick which one that you want to attach, you will click on it and click open. Like for instance, I'm just gonna pick a random one. You'll see the name pop up and you will hit the blue upload button. This doesn't go to this lab. This is just the first one that popped up. But when you upload it, you know it's successfully attached to the lab when you see the picture of it. And if you pick the wrong picture, you can click this little button next to it and it allows you to choose another file again. And then you do the process again, to choose file, open, and you hit the upload button. And whenever I upload a picture, I'd always just, as a precaution, just to save it, make sure you don't lose anything. Anybody else have any questions? Yes.
Okay, so I guess my real question is, how do we get it from our phone to upload it there?
Okay. What I do is I will email it to myself, and when I'm on my computer, I open it and download it to my computer, and then you can go in your little search bar on your computer and you can type, what is it called? Snipping tool. Yeah, you have an app called Snipping Tool.
Yes.
And I use that to take a snippet of it because you can save it as a PDF that way. And I know that's one way that the labs accept pictures are PDFs. So I'll save it through that and then upload them, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, Brittany.
Since we can turn it in late and there's technically not a late docking point system, and we have and we're going to be closed on Thanksgiving and Friday, are we able to work on it over that weekend and turn it in then if we need to?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, I just didn't know, I know you said that we had no docking points, so I just didn't know if anything could happen,
Exactly.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't know if the tutors are available this weekend, though. Are they, Amy? Just in case
Yeah.
anybody.
They're not available on Thursday or Friday, but they're in on Saturday and Sunday regular hours.
Okay, cool.
And just putting this out there, you've probably seen my message about the fact that we're closed Thursday and Friday, but it's a really good time if you're obviously you should try to spend the time with your family and relax and decompress. But if you're wanting to do something over the weekend, I highly suggest working ahead on your labs, because even if you do ones that aren't in this mod, they're going to be done for when you get into that mod where those are due, and then you won't have to do them. We can just transfer your grade. So if you're feeling spicy and want to have some lab fun over the weekend, keep that in mind. You can also retake any quizzes or homework that you had a low score on. Yeah, so that's my little teacher spiel. Does anyone have any more questions? All right, well, this will come into your announcements tomorrow. If you don't see it, just let me know and I can send it to you. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, have a good night.